Hello there. In this session, we're going to explore how to read data in R. You can read data in several formats, but for starters, let's look at a few of them, because once you get the basics, then you can read almost any data in any format. We're going to first explore how to read CSV data. I'll come here and type read CSV. I'll go to where my file is located. Maybe I want to read sync data. I'll copy the path of the file and then paste it here. But remember to change the slashes from back to forward. Maybe I want to call this data 1. If I run this, you can see my data is here. It has 16 observations and 4 variables. Let's look at how to read data that's in Stata format. If I have my data set in Stata, first of all, before I read it, I have to call on a certain library called foreign. If I just type read here, you can see that on the list there is nothing like DTA. So before I call on foreign, I can't get to read DTA files. So before even read, I'll first call on this library called foreign. Okay, I run this. After running, then I can go on to read. Now in this case, after calling on foreign, you can see DTA on the list. So before attempting to read Stata file, always call on library foreign. So this usually this version that I'm using imports only a range of versions in Stata. So let me just try it out to explain what I mean. I have this sync data in Stata format. I'll come here and copy the path and then paste it here, and of course I'll go on to change these slashes. Maybe I want to call this data 2, but remember this file is in a higher version of Stata, yet we've learned so far that this version only caters for a certain range of versions of Stata. Let's try it out and see. If I run this and I come to this window here, the console, I realize that this error is telling me that the Stata version should be between 5 and 12. Remember, I'd used a file that is in version 15. So what do? I'll come here and try to save this file in a lower version, 12.11. I can call it sync data 2. Okay, then I'll save it. So this time around, if I import my lower version, which is sync data 2, there you go, it's been read. So let's look at cases where you have data in a certain format, maybe SPSS, maybe EPINFO. but you're not familiar with how you can read data from that specific format. Maybe I want to read this data that is in SPSS. Okay, but let me assume I don't know how to read SPSS data formats. What I'll do is I'll come here to this that I want to read, and I'll save it in another format that I'm familiar with. Maybe let me save it in DTA Stata, maybe version 6. So I can call this sync data 3. So if I save and I come here, I can read this data that was previously in SPSS format. Since I've now changed it into Stata format, I will copy the path and then have it pasted here. But remember, I have to change these slashes from back to forward. Then I can be able to read my dataset. Having this already in mind, you can import almost any dataset. In case you're not so much familiar with the coding, what you can do is use this help window here. For example, if I want to read CSV data, I'll come in and I type read, then scroll down to CSV. It will give me a format that I should use, and I'll come here and copy it and then have it pasted in my window here. It's giving me several options and I can choose to neglect some, but for today I want to talk about this header. So file here is where you replace file with your path, and for header you make it true when you want to make the first row of the dataset you're importing to be the variable names. If you don't want it to be variable names, you set header to false. For example, I don't need this, I'll just clear it. I want to read this dataset here that is in CSV format. So as usual, what I'll do is I'll go to the location, which is this. I copy the path and then paste it where file is, and then of course I'll have to change the slashes from back to forward. I'm setting my header as true. If I run this, it will be red. Maybe I want to call it data 4. Now run it again. Okay, it's showing me an error, meaning I should do away with this space. Okay, let me run it again. Okay, there I have it on my list here, data 4. If I'm to explore it, you see that the first row was composed of variable names, and here it treated the first row as variable names because I'd set my header as true. So what if I set the header to false? What will happen? Okay, I'm going to call this maybe data file, and instead of true I want to call it false. Okay, if I run this, it will be imported, but if I'm to export it, you see that it created its own variable names and treated the first row not as variable names. So in case you have a data set that is composed of only data points without variable names, and you want to include all data points into your data set, you need to take caution of how you set your header. Okay, lastly, what I'll talk about here is maybe the advantage of R compared to other packages like Stata. You can see that in my environment here I have several data sets, dataset 1, 2, 3 up to 5. R is able to read several data sets all at once. In case I want to use variables from dataset 2 at the same time, variables from dataset 4, that can be made possible in R. But in Stata, you will have to clear your dataset, the previous dataset, to import a new dataset. So that's another advantage of R. So keep in mind that you have help here that you can use if you want to change a few things. If you come here, header, file, sep, which is separation, they'll all be explained down here. So depending on what you want, of course you're not going to go through all this. Depending on what you want, you can be able to set these other options. So thank you so much for your attention. Please do make use of the contacts in this video in case you want to ask a question or you have a suggestion or a certain contribution. Please make it a point to use the contacts on your screen. Okay, so thank you so much, and wish you nothing but the best. Bye.